What books are in my answers for the mid-year book freakout tag? Let's jump into it. Welcome back to Lilybelle Lives YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed my recent book video where I went through all nearly 30 books that I have read so far and officially completed in the year. But I've been seeing the mid-year book freakout tag going around, so I was like, why don't we do that where we can get a little bit more just specific instead of going through like every book that I have read. And I think the most exciting part of this mid-year freakout tag is getting to like look forward to all the new upcoming releases. And 2024 has been just unreal for new book releases, so I'm really excited to jump in, answer the questions I have on my phone. I did take inspiration from so many of the book YouTube community with the mid-year book freakout tag, so I cannot do this video without sharing my love of the booktube community. So Rachel Catherine is where I have got the exact questions from, but I'm pretty sure she also tagged others of where she got it from. So I don't know who started this trend, but I'm jumping on board super cozy while we do this book video. I have a few stacks of books in front of me, so let's jump into it. First question is the best book you've read so far in 2024. Now this is a hard one. I feel like if you watched my recent book video, I was like, there's been so many good 4 stars that just so many good books that I just would recommend. So if I have to pick like what is like my absolute best, I think I'll save the other one for another answer, but I think it's gonna have to be like Immortality by oh, I do not know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm very, very sorry. This is the first book in a love story duo, and I don't know what it was. I think there are so many factors that made me love this book because it kept me on a cliffhanger, which is like a huge win for me. I love if a book leaves me on a cliffhanger because I'm like, oh my god. And then if it just has like a connection to characters, if it has a deeper meaning, and I really liked this one because I think I've mentioned before, but basically she's trying to become a heart surgeon. She is so good at that, and it is just exactly what she's like destined to be. But it's in the 1800s, so there is no way a woman was allowed to be a heart surgeon. But I think the way the book explores that was just done so cool, and I don't know, I really liked it. It's not too big, it's the perfect amount. I really like the style of writing, so I think that might have to be my favorite because it took me by surprise and I haven't stopped thinking about it, so I think that's a huge win. Best sequel you've read so far in 2024. Now this one's really tricky because I feel like I've read a few series, so I'm gonna just pick one out of a series, but I think I'm gonna say 2. I don't think I can pass it up without saying A Court of Silver Flames, because I don't know, the series just gets better and better. So when I think of what is a sequel or what is the next book in a series, it just gets better and better. Now this isn't the next book, it's actually so far the last book, but I would just say out of that whole series, once you read the first one, every single book gets better and better. So I know it might be cliche to say, and you know, but it's never going out of fashion. You can still always recommend books you read a long time ago, and this was at the start of the year. I finished A Court of Silver Flames. We are halfway through the year. The fact that I'm still thinking about this and how it was such a good follow-on in the series is why I would say this has to be one of the best sequels or follow-on books in a series that I have read. And by this point in the A Court of Thorn and Roses, I need to stop saying the whole thing. In this part of ACOTAR, you have well and truly got to know the characters, so you will either kind of be starting to get attached to certain ones, and I think exactly who I loved so much, so it has to be a top follow-on book. This probably is my favorite question. New releases you haven't read yet but want to. So I'm going to class this as all the ones that have been released, and let's just say I have quite a few. Let's start with actually a new release this week. Not to give too much away, but so far so good. I'm about 150 pages in to Reckless and I'm obsessed. I was really looking forward to this one, and probably not even as much as a lot of people were, but the more I read it, the more I have been so excited about it. So that is a really good sign to me because it means like I wasn't like let down from the hype. But we'll see where the rest of the book takes me. But that is definitely a new release I am, you know, waiting to finish now. A new release that I haven't read yet but want to is a novel of a love story. Is it a novel love story by Ashley Poston, and this one was released this week, so I picked it up and I just also really love the cover. I haven't read any other work from Ashley Poston other than The 7-Year Slip. I know there's also The Dead Romantic, so I think if I end up loving this, I will definitely go back and read Dead Romantics, but I'm going to pick up this one next so that I can see if I love her work or if I just loved The 7-Year Slip. But that is definitely a new release I can't wait to read. And then the most anticipated release for the second half of the year has to be Play Along. I finished Caught Up, I think end of last year. This is like the third one in the interconnected Windy City series, which I am a huge fan of. I think it's like hit and miss. Like some people are just like, oh my god, this is such a like weird toxic trait in some of the boys. Some people did not like Mile High, and then what's the second one? The Right Move, like everyone loved. And then I also really loved Caught Up. But so far I have loved every single book, and they're pretty big, and I have just wanted to binge them. Play Along is coming out actually this week, and that is my most anticipated read, because I think since the end of last year I was literally counting down until the next one was going to come out, and it's felt like it's been a while, but now it's all of a sudden already here. So that has definitely been my most anticipated release for a long time. I forgot to mention, other than Play Along, for the most anticipated releases for the rest of 2024, I'm looking on the booklistqueen.com, and it's showing me all the upcoming book releases. So I'm gonna have a quick flick through and see which ones kind of stand out for me, because upcoming releases I'm actually not too well knowledged on, unless I have read, you know, the first book in the series and I know the second book is coming out. Off the top of the bat, I can see this month in July, Lisa Jewell has a new mystery thriller called Breaking the Dark, which could be something right up my alley. I have read Lisa Jewell books a very long time ago and I love them, and I think off my recent, like, The Housemaid is Watching, I need to get back into a different mystery thriller author. There is a few that the covers are jumping out to me. Why is there so many mystery thrillers getting released? Frida McFadden, she's bringing out another one called The Boyfriend in October. Look, it's on Kindle Unlimited, maybe I'll give it another go. The Wedding Witch, who's that by? Erin Sterling. The X-Hex book number 3. Okay, I have not read the X-Hex, and I can't remember what the second one's called, but knowing there's a third one coming out, this actually kind of makes me excited to want to read the X-Hex this upcoming Halloween or October. And the third book comes out October 8th, just before my birthday, October 10th. But that actually makes me really want to read the first book. Okay, and that is kind of it. Biggest surprise. The biggest surprise book for me this year has to be Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because I have mentioned before, her books have been a hit or miss with me. Like, I enjoyed Love Hypothesis, and that was about 2 years ago. And then I started Love Theoretically, never finished it. I don't know why. I think I just got a bit bored with it, or maybe I didn't read it quick enough. You know, it could have been me, could have been the book, I'm not sure. But I'm a hit or miss with Ali Hazelwood, and this was definitely one of them that I was like, I am not sure if this is going to be for me. And it caught me by the biggest surprise, because I read it, I think in 2 days. I really, really loved it. I thought it was unique. It gives me Twilight vibes, and I wasn't a Twilight fan. So I think that takes me by surprise even more of how much I love this. I rated this like a 4-star, nearly a 4.5 stars. And I'm shocked. I loved it, and I actually cannot wait for the second book in this series that I believe it will be continuing on. I think by this ending as well, it kind of needs to. So yeah, this one was the biggest surprise to me. I think in saying that, the second biggest surprise briefly that I want to mention is Powerful. Now, I know I mentioned I'm currently reading Reckless, which I was excited, but I only became excited for this once I read Powerful, because Powerless was so long ago. I had kind of just forgotten about it, and I wasn't like a huge fan. I was just like, I love the book, that's it. So when this novella was coming out in between, I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. And oh my god, I could have read another 300 pages of this. 200, like, this could have kept going and I would have loved it. Even though it's following the same timeline, and I've heard you can do the tandem read with Powerless, I just couldn't get enough of this. This is one of the covers we got in Australia, if you want to see. But we had 2 different covers that came out. I actually wanted the darker one, but in America it's different again. You guys got like a little pocket hard book kind of cover. But yeah, this one also took me by surprise. So these were my 2 biggest surprises of the year so far. My favorite new author, or like a debut, or just new to me, I think, even though I think I read one of her books last year, I'm still gonna say she's my new favorite author because I just kind of can't get enough of her books, and that is Abby Jimenez. I read Just for the Summer recently, and oh my gosh, if you know, this was definitely a 6-star read for me this year. So that is definitely a book that, definitely an author I just claim as my favorite author. Anything she releases, I will be picking up. I will probably say that also maybe Lauren Roberts is a new author, because she was a new author. The Powerless was like her debut novel, and I just think she's new to me. She's kind of new to everyone, but I don't know, I just want to throw her in there. I think she's one of my new favorite authors. Other than that, I feel like I need to read way more of certain authors this year to be able to say who was a new favorite author of mine. So I think I'm gonna stick with those two. Newest fictional crush. I don't have many. I don't have too many crushes. I would just say that, oh gosh, love Kai. We love him, and I think maybe I read a sentence this morning, and let me just read it out to you because this definitely made me kind of think, okay, maybe this is my new fictional crush. If she is shadow, then I am flame. Oh, just that line in the book, I was like, you go Kai. Maybe Kai would be up there. Who else? Probably Justin out of Just for the Summer. Maybe it was just his characteristic traits that remind me of my own boyfriend, that I would say he's like a fictional, but again, not a fictional crush. I don't know, I don't really crush big on books, but I love characters. Like, I love the way some male characters are represented in books. So I guess there's a few, but nothing that I could crazy, you know, die hard fan over. A book that made me cry. I remember being so heart-wrenching invested in this book, and it made me shed a few tears. And I know I've repeated it a few times, but that is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I don't know what about it is, but the way this book was written, it felt real. It felt like real life, and I was just so connected to the storyline that it did make me get very emotional. So this one made me cry, not always in a bad way, but I just love it so much. And I think I'm gonna kind of skim over the question that said a book that made you happy. And because of how much emotion this book brought me, I'm gonna combine the two questions, a book that made me happy and cry, which sounds kind of strange, but I just had such a deep emotional connection that this book made me happy and cry. The most beautiful book that I have bought so far this year would have to be the love story duo, Immortality and, sorry, why do I keep calling it Immortality? I've done that the whole time. It's Anatomy of a Love Story, and Immortality is the second one. Gosh, I'll have to fix that up. These two books are just stunning, because if you look really closely, the hearts and the brain are actually a girl in a dress. So because of like the unique and cleverness to the story, the book, if a cover connects with the book on a deeper level, then I'm absolutely obsessed. Because, you know, some covers, like, you know, a Silver Flames, it doesn't really, you know, tell you too much about the story. But if you look closely in these kind of books, they actually connect with the story so cleverly. And I keep these on my dresser as display books because I just think they are so beautiful. So they are the most beautiful books that I have bought this year. I will say that another book I bought that I find quite pretty is The Nightingale by Christina, by Kristen Hanna is The Nightingale. Now, maybe not particularly the front, but this side spine is just the most beautiful gold foiled side that I also keep on display. I'm yet to read this one, but I just think that would have to be the second book that I think is just the most prettiest book that I own. I think we're up to the last question. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Now, there's a few. There is quite a few. I thought for this section, let me just go through the books I have recently bought and would love to hopefully read by the end of the year. Off the top of my mind, I'm also gonna say I need to finish Magnolia Into the Dark. I have not finished the last book in the Magnolia Park universe or in the Magnolia Park series, so I'm yet to finish that, but let's just get that out of the way and let's show all the books that I have bought and have not yet read or completed. This is my stack of books I recently bought. So this is kind of like a TBR section. So let's go through them. I have The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Now, I've heard good things about this, and I was a huge fan of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which just came out as a TV series as well. So this one I need to read shortly. Next was the one I just mentioned, but The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I have heard so much hype around this recently, and it just made me want to get into more of a like deeper meaning book. It's about what it's like to be like a woman during the war when your partner goes to war. So I think there's definitely like a found friendship connected into this. I don't know, I've just heard raving reviews, so I really want to read that one quite soon. It is definitely high on my list, and that is One Dark Window, Rachel Gillig, and I've also heard just incredible things about this one, so I would love to read this one by the end of the year. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is the first book in that duo. I'm not sure if it's a duo, I think it might be connected, but I've also heard raving things about this. A really cool like quick fantasy read, so I do want to get to this, but I just have so many, like One Dark Window, there's so many similar kind of vibes that I have no idea which one will be my next. Comment below if you think I need to take priority over one of them. Next up on the book is actually also my current read. I said I am currently reading Reckless, but I also have another book, but because it is so big and emotional, I'm kind of reading two different books depending on my vibe. So the next book that I want to finish, hopefully very soon, is A Little Life. I have heard so much about this book and how just gut-wrenching and emotional it is. So I am so far 100 pages exactly into the book, and you know, I haven't cried yet, but it is definitely a deep, meaningful book. So I'm going to continue that probably as soon as I finish Reckless and try and get through this. It is a chunky book, but I definitely think by the end of the year I will have finished this one. So stay tuned if this one makes me cry, because if I had finished that already, maybe that would have been my answer. Next book that I will be finishing by this month, because it is my book club read, not my book club, I have joined a book club for the first time. So I will be reading A Song of Achilles. I don't know, this is an old kind of well-known book. It'll be so interesting to see what I think of it. I have no idea what it's really about. I have had this book for a little bit as well, and I definitely want to read it by the end of the year because I've heard some incredible raving reviews about this book, and it is Throne of the Fallen. I really do think the cover is also really beautiful. But yeah, it's about like a wicked prince and a painter, and I've actually started and I'm a fair chunk into this book and I was enjoying it a lot. So don't ask me why I'm in the middle of so many books. I'm a bit of a mood reader, but I am loving this one so far. So I will finish this one shortly. Those are the books I picked up recently and would love to finish by the end of the year, as well as like the new release Play Along by Liz Tomford. And I don't know, are there any other new releases that will probably be added to this list? I am sure more books will probably be added to that list, but that is my full TBR. I actually try not to, you know, go overboard. That is probably the biggest TBR I've had in a while, and it needs to stop there because, like I said, I even picked up another new release this week. So, you know, my TBR is on hold for a bit. That is the mid-year book freakout tag complete. I hope maybe it was just a fun little insight into some deeper questions around the 30 books I have read so far this year. And if you want to see all of the 30 books I have read, make sure you check out my previous video. But I hope you enjoyed me doing the mid-year freakout. Comment below. I love seeing your comments and what you love to see on my YouTube channel. But with that being said, happy reading, and especially for the rest of 2024, I hope we continue to have some 5-star reads. But lots of love as always from Lilybelle Lives.